The sun was setting behind the tall glass towers of Sector 9. The sky turned orange, and the air was filled with the sound of drones flying above. People walked quickly, avoiding the gaze of the Droxel patrol bots. It was not safe to stand still. For long, not for humans. Rena, a 16-year-old girl with short black hair and sharp eyes, waited outside the High Court building. Her hands were shaking, and her heart was beating fast. Inside the court, her older brother Tareen was being judged. He had been arrested just 2 days ago during a peaceful protest. Tareen was not a fighter. He was a kind boy who loved books and music. That day, he had only tried to protect a small child when the Droxel guards began hitting the protesters. But the aliens did not care. They saw all humans as troublemakers. Rena stood beside her mother, who was crying silently. Around them, other humans were waiting too, but no one spoke. The Droxel hated noise. Suddenly, a loud voice came from the court. Speakers, Case 457. Judgment delivered. A large screen lit up above the court door. Tareen's face appeared on it. His eyes looked tired, and there was a bruise on his cheek. The machine voice continued. Subject, human male. Crime, attack on Droxel officer. Sentence, 80 years of labor. Location, prison camp Zeta 4. Appeal denied. Rena gasped. Her legs felt weak. Her mother screamed. No, he didn't do anything. Rena shouted, stepping forward. A Droxel guard walked up to her. He was tall, with blue skin and glowing red eyes. Silence, he said in a cold voice. Disturbance will not be allowed. Rena stared at him with anger, but she did not move. She watched as her brother was taken away in chains. He looked at her one last time. His lips moved. Stay strong, he whispered. Then the doors closed. That night, Rena sat alone on the roof of their small home. Her mother had locked herself in her room. The streetlights flickered below. In the distance, she could hear the patrol bots flying. She held a small photo of her and Tareen when they were kids. They were smiling, standing in front of a tree on Earth. That was before they moved to Sector 9. Before everything changed. How can they do this? She whispered. Why is there no justice for us? Rena had always believed that law meant truth, that courts would protect the innocent. But today, she saw the truth. The law was not made for humans. It was made for the Droxel. And they used it to control, not to protect. She remembered what the lawyer bot said during the trial. Humans do not qualify for full defense under Droxel Law Code 72. No lawyer, no chance to speak. Just a sentence. And now Tareen was gone. Rena's hands tightened into fists. If the law won't protect us, she said, then I will learn it. I will become stronger than their rules. It was that night she made a promise. She would spend her life learning the alien law. Not for money, not for power, but to bring her brother back. And to break the system that took him. The next morning, Rena went to the Central Library. It was the only place where humans were allowed to read Droxel books, though they had to stay in the low zone, a dark, cold room underground. She asked the librarian, "Do you have books on galactic law?" The answered in a flat tone, "Access is restricted. Only students of the Galactic Law Academy may view legal books." Rena stood tall. "Then I want to become a student." The AI scanned her face. "Human species not recommended. Acceptance rate, 0.3%. "I don't care," Rena said. "Give me the forms." That same day, she started her journey. Rena worked during the day at a recycling plant. At night, she studied language, alien law codes, and logic. Her eyes burned from reading, but she did not stop. People laughed at her. Even some humans said, "It's useless. They will never let us in." But Rena believed in effort. She believed in truth. Months passed. She applied to the academy once. She was rejected. She applied again. Rejected. On her third try, She passed the written test, but failed the oral exam. The Droxel examiners mocked her accent and said, "Law is not made for feelings," she cried that night. But she did not give up. She got a job as a cleaner at the academy, just to be near the classes. She listened from behind doors. She took notes when no one was looking. And then, after 5 years of hard work, a strange thing happened. A Droxel teacher named Moza saw her sitting alone with a pile of books. "You are the human girl who keeps applying," he said. Rena nodded. "Yes, why do you try so hard?" he asked. "My brother is in prison for a crime he didn't commit," she said. "I want to bring him home." Moza looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, "You may join my class." That small chance became the light she needed. Rena entered the academy, the first human student in its history. And so, her true battle began. Rena sat at the back of the class, quiet and focused. The room was full of Droxel students, all taller and stronger than her. Their skin was blue or green, their eyes glowing in strange colors. She felt like a small insect among giants. But she didn't care. She was here to learn, not to make friends. The teacher Moza stood at the front, speaking in Droxel tongue. Rena had already learned the language from old books and voice clips. Her notes were neat. Her ears listened to every word. No moment was wasted. Moza noticed her hard work. While other students laughed and joked during breaks, Rena stayed behind, asking questions. She was not the fastest, but she was the most determined. Weeks turned into months. And Rena passed her first test. Life at the Galactic Law Academy was not easy. Human students were rare, and most Droxel looked down on them. Rena was often ignored or insulted in the halls. One student, Zarn, once pushed her books off the table and said, "You don't belong here." Rena simply picked up her books and replied, "Maybe not now, but I will." That night, she studied even harder. Years passed. Rena moved from basic law to advanced law. She learned how Droxel courts worked, how their logic was used to trap people in endless rules. She studied old cases, ancient texts, and even the structure of AI judges. She discovered that the system was not just unfair, it was designed to be unfair. It gave power to those born with status and silence to those without it. Rena kept a secret journal. In it, she wrote everything she learned. She gave names to broken laws, noted judges who were unfair, and listed every case where a human was denied justice. She also visited the public court records to search for her brother Taring's file. But the case was marked closed forever. She didn't lose hope. She just added another page to her journal. By her 10th year, Rena had passed more than 70 tests. She was now allowed to enter legal debates. These were public battles where students stood in front of AI judges and argued real laws. Many students were afraid. But Rena stood with courage. Her first opponent was a Droxel boy named Thox, who laughed before the debate. "This will be over quickly," he said. But when the debate started, Rena used logic like a sword. She found small words in the law text and turned them into strong points. She proved that Thox had misread 3 sections. The AI judge blinked and said, "Victory, Rena." The room went silent. Then someone clapped. It was Moza. After that, people began to notice her. Some Droxel still disliked her, but others started to respect her mind. Rena spent time in the library's deep archives. There, she found forgotten books written by humans from Earth, books about honor, justice, and freedom. She copied those ideas and added them to her style. She mixed human heart with alien logic. This became her power. By year 15, Rena had gained the right to practice law in low-level courts. She helped small human families in Sector 9 with their problems: housing rights, work abuse, missing persons. Many were too poor to hire lawyers. Rena worked for free. People began calling her the Quiet Fire. She was calm, but when she spoke in court, her words burned like flame. One day, an old woman gave her a scarf and said, "You give us hope." Rena smiled softly. Hope is the first step toward change. But time was moving fast. Rena was now 35. Her hair had grown longer, and her eyes were sharper than before. Still, her heart was filled with one goal: to free Tarin. Moza, now a senior professor, called her one day. "You've passed the final tests," he said. "You are now a galactic law advocate." Rena bowed her head in respect. "You have power now," Moza said. "What will you do with it?" She looked at him and said, "I will open the case of my brother, Tarin." Moza nodded slowly. "It will not be easy. That case was locked long ago. You will need strong evidence." "I'll find it," Rena said. "Even if I have to dig through every planet's files." She returned home to Sector 9 after 20 long years. The streets were still broken, and the air still smelled of smoke. Her mother was old now, her hands weak. When her mother saw her, tears filled her eyes. "You kept your promise," she whispered. Rena hugged her. "I'm not done yet." She went to the Sector Records Hall, a large dusty place run by old bots. She searched for video footage of the protest from 20 years ago. Most records were missing or broken. But she found something: a robot camera unit named Unit 12 that had been present at the protest. The robot was listed as scrap and had been sent to the junk world. Coral, Rena prepared her travel documents. She contacted Moza, who gave her access to an old research ship. With her case bag and legal ID, she boarded the ship and left for Coral. The journey took 5 days. When she arrived, she saw mountains of metal and dead machines. The sky was gray, and nothing moved. Using a scanner, she searched for Unit 12. After hours of walking, she found the robot half buried under metal plates. Its body was broken, but its memory core still blinked. Rena worked through the night to remove the core. It was heavy and old. But she smiled when she saw the small message blinking. Memory data, locked protest, footage present. She returned to her ship and flew back. Holding the memory core close to her chest. She now had what she needed to reopen her brother's case, but she also knew that once she did, the system would come after her. Still, Rena was ready. She had spent 20 years walking through fire and books. Now, the real war for justice was about to begin. Rena sat alone in her small home in Sector 9. The memory core from Unit 12 lay on the table in front of her. It was old, dusty, and covered in scratches. But the small blue light still blinked. She had waited 20 years for this moment. Gently, she connected the core to her data reader. The screen showed a message: "Footage corrupted. Playback error." Rena's heart sank. "No, no, not now," she whispered. She tried again, but the footage wouldn't play. The file was damaged. All the answers she had searched for, the truth that could free her brother, were stuck inside. She didn't give up. She contacted an old friend from her academy days, a human tech expert named Davy. Davy now worked at a hidden lab where damaged data could be repaired. Rena met her at night. Far from the city lights, Davy looked at the core and raised an eyebrow. "This is from a very old unit. Where did you get it?" "Junk planet," Rena said simply. "Can you fix it?" Davy smiled. "I'll try." For 3 days, Rena waited. In silence, she didn't rest. She reread the Droxel law books, studied every word, and wrote her arguments. She knew that once the footage was restored, she would have one chance to reopen the case. And she had to be perfect. Finally, Davy called her. "It's done," she said. "But there's something you need to see." Rena rushed to the lab. On the screen, the recovered video played. It was the day of the protest 20 years ago. Rena saw the crowd, the signs, the peaceful march. Then, the Droxel guards arrived. Without warning, they began pushing and beating the humans. Tarin appeared in the video. He stood in front of a child, arms wide, protecting him. A Droxel guard struck him. Tarin pushed the guard back. That was it. That was the crime. Rena's eyes filled with tears. The video showed the truth. This is what I needed, she said. Davy nodded. Be careful. Once you show this, they won't stay silent. The next day, Rena walked into the Central Legal Tower, a tall silver building that touched the sky. It was where high-level cases were heard, where AI judges sat on their metal thrones. She walked to the front desk and placed the memory core on the table. I request a trial challenge, she said. Case 457. Tareen of Sector 9. The Droxel officer looked at her and frowned. That case is closed. I have new evidence, Rena said firmly. Footage from the day of the protest. It proves he is innocent. The officer scanned the core. The screen flashed red. High-level footage. You will need approval from the court circle, he said. I know, Rena replied. I'm ready. The officer gave her a cold look. Be warned. If the footage is fake or stolen, you may be punished under Law Code 89. It's not fake, she said. It's the truth. The trial challenge was set for the next week. It would take place in Lawspire 1, a floating city in the sky where the galaxy's most powerful courts operated. These trials were rare. Only brave lawyers dared to enter them. And most who did lost. But Rena was not afraid. She arrived early, wearing her plain black robe and holding her case file. Around her, the courtroom was filled with beings from different planets. Some were there to watch. Others were waiting for their own cases. But many were curious. A human advocate? Someone whispered, she's the one who studied law for 20 years. Rena stood tall. Her opponent entered the room. It was Advocate Sorlin, a famous Droxel lawyer known for never losing. He wore silver armor and had a cold smile. I've read your file, he said to Rena. You're passionate, but passion doesn't win trials. I'm not here to win, Rena said. I'm here for the truth. The trial began. The AI judges, 9 tall machines with glowing eyes, appeared on the screen above. Trial challenge. Case 457, Advocate Rena versus Advocate Sorlin. The system voice said. Rena stepped forward. My brother, Tareen, was sentenced for a crime he did not commit, she began. The original court gave no defense, no review. I bring new evidence today to prove his innocence. She played the recovered video. The room was silent as the footage showed Tareen protecting the child, then being attacked. One of the AI judges asked, Do you confirm this footage is original? Yes, Rena said. Taken from Unit 12, a robot present at the scene. The unit was registered by the city's camera system. All records match. Advocate Sorlin stepped up. This footage could be edited, he said. The robot was found on a junk world. It may have been altered. Rena replied, Then let the court's tech system scan the memory core. If it is edited, I will accept. Defeat. The AI judges scanned the core. Authenticity confirmed. Original footage. No edits found. The crowd gasped. A few whispered among themselves. Rena continued, This is not just about my brother. This is about a system that denies defense to humans. It's time to look at the law not from power, but from justice. The AI judges went silent. They began to review all records. Suddenly, the lights in the courtroom dimmed. A voice from the system said, Case evidence accepted. Sentence paused. Further review needed. Rena felt a wave of relief. Her brother's punishment had been paused. But before she could speak, the system voice spoke again. New charge filed. Advocate Rena accused of hacking the court system. Investigation ordered. Gasps filled the room. Rena froze. What? I did nothing wrong, she said, but Sorlin smiled. You broke rules to reach that robot, didn't you? Entered a restricted junk planet without permission? Rena looked up at the judges. I did it to find the truth. Truth must follow the law, Sorlin said coldly. Rena knew this was a trap. The system was fighting back. It didn't want to be questioned. Outside the courtroom, patrol bots began to scan for her. Rena had to leave fast. Moza appeared at the back door and waved. "Come with me." He whispered. She followed him through a hidden tunnel. They reached a quiet room filled with old files and records. "This is the archives," Moza said. "No one comes here anymore. You'll be safe for now." Rena looked around. "Then I'll use this time well," she said. She opened a dusty book, its title faded. She was not done. She had paused her brother's punishment. But to win the real war, she needed more. She had to prove this system was built to crush humans from the start, and the proof might be hiding in the shadows of these forgotten pages. The room was silent except for the soft hum of old machines. Rena stood in the archives, holding a book that had not been opened in many years. Dust covered its cover, but inside were the oldest laws of the Droxel court system. These laws were written before humans ever entered the galaxy. She flipped through the pages, reading each line carefully. Her eyes stopped on a section called Code Origin 7. Her breath caught. It said, "Species of lower order may be denied full court rights if determined to lack advanced logic." Rena frowned. "Lower order?" she whispered. She kept reading. In the early days, Droxel leaders had created laws that divided races by mental strength. At that time, humans were new. They were not understood. So they were placed under limited defense rights. That law had never been removed. It was still quietly active, buried under new laws. "This is it," she said. "This is why humans never get full defense. It was built into the system." She took pictures of the pages and added them to her case file. Moza entered the room, holding 2 cups of hot drink. "You look like someone who just found a key," he said. "I found the door too," Rena replied. "And now I know how to break it." The next day, Rena filed a new request at the Central Legal Tower. "I want a final judgment session," she said. The clerk, a thin bot with one glowing eye, paused. "Final judgment requires approval from the court circle and at least one council judge." "I have a council member," Rena said and handed over a signed form. Moza had signed it. The bot scanned the form. Request accepted. Final judgment will take place in 7 days. Location, Law Spire 1. Case, Human Rights vs. Droxel Court Law. Rena nodded. "Thank you." News spread fast. Human lawyer challenges the oldest Droxel laws. First final judgment trial in 12 years. Will she win or fall like the others? Rena became a symbol. Some humans cheered her name. Some feared for her safety. She ignored the noise. She spent the next week preparing her arguments, studying every case, every word. She built a wall of facts, history, and law. Moza helped her. "You are doing what no one ever tried," he said. "You are using their own law to break their system." Rena nodded. "I'm not fighting with weapons. I'm fighting with truth." Finally, the day came. The final judgment courtroom floated in the sky like a shining crystal. Inside, 9 AI judges sat behind silver panels. Behind them stood large screens showing court codes and history records. Advocate Sorlin was already there, dressed in silver armor again. "You return," he said, smirking. "Still chasing dreams?" "I'm chasing justice," Rena replied. The AI judges spoke in one voice. Final judgment session begins. Rena stepped forward. "For too long," she said clearly, "humans have been judged unfairly. We are denied full defense not because of crime, but because of who we are." She lifted the old book from the archives. "This law code Origin 7 says humans are of lower order. That is why my brother never had a lawyer. That is why humans lose in court. And that law still exists in your system." The room became quiet. Even the Droxel watchers whispered among themselves. She continued, "I am not asking for special treatment. I am asking for equal justice. If your system is fair, then remove the old law. Treat humans like any other race. Sorlin stepped up. Next, our system is based on logic, he said. It is not personal. If humans lose, it is because they are not strong enough to win. Rena looked at him. Then why hide the law? Why bury it under layers of codes? Sorlin said nothing. One of the AI judges spoke. Evidence confirmed. Law Code Origin 7 is active. Status: hidden protocol. Another judge asked, "What remedy do you request, Advocate Rena?" "I ask that Code Origin 7 be removed," she said, "and that my brother's case be reopened under full rights." A new debate began. The AI judges asked hard questions. Is your species ready for full rights? Can you prove human logic equals Droxel logic? Rena answered with care. She showed court victories won by humans. She showed how humans solved complex cases. She even showed how the law school had accepted her. "I was told humans lack logic," she said, "but I passed every exam. I beat top students. I won in your courts. I did not win with power. I won with reason." The AI judges processed her words. After a long pause, they said, "Final decision in 1 hour." Rena waited in a quiet room. Her heart was heavy, but her mind was calm. She had spoken her truth. Moza entered. "Whatever happens, you made history." Rena gave a small smile. "I didn't come for history. I came for my brother." 1 hour later, she stood in the courtroom again. The AI judges lit up. Decision delivered. Law Code Origin 7 is removed. All species will be granted equal defense rights. Case 457 will be reopened under new rules. Rena felt her knees go weak. She held her breath. Tareen of Sector 9 is declared innocent. Sentence canceled. Release ordered. The crowd gasped. Some cheered. Some cried. Rena stood frozen. She had done it. The courtroom was still bright when Rena stepped outside, but inside her heart, a storm was growing. Tareen was free. Code Origin 7 was removed. Humans had won the right to equal defense, but something didn't feel right. As she walked through the open plaza of Law Spire 1, her legal ID buzzed. A new message flashed on her screen. "Warning. You are under investigation for unauthorized entry into Archive Zone and data theft. A formal order has been issued for your arrest." Rena stopped. The crowd moved around her, but she stood still. Arrest? After everything she had done? She had followed the law. She had exposed the truth. Yet now the system was turning its eyes on her. She rushed into a nearby corridor and called Moza. "They're coming for me," she said. "I just got an arrest order." "I feared this would happen," Moza replied. "You've embarrassed the High Council. They want revenge, quiet revenge." "I didn't break any law," Rena said. "I only used their own rules." Moza's voice was serious. "That's the problem. You prove the system is flawed. That makes you dangerous. What do I do now?" "Meet me in the lower docks. I have a place where they can't track you." "But hurry. The court bots won't wait long." Rena kept her head down as she moved through the crowds. She took side paths and used old tunnels beneath the tower. These tunnels were built long ago, forgotten by most. After 30 minutes, she reached the lower docks. Moza was waiting beside a small cargo ship. He waved her inside. "Quick, once we're off this platform, their scanners won't follow us." The ship rose slowly into the air, then disappeared into the misty skies. Inside, Rena sat on a metal bench, catching her breath. She looked at Moza. "I did everything right. I followed the law. Why are they so afraid of me?" "Because the law is only a mask," he said quietly. "Behind it, real power hides. You pulled off the mask." Moza took her to a hidden location called the Archive Depths, far beneath an old research facility. It was a quiet place with low lights and shelves full of ancient documents. There Rena opened her case files again. She wasn't running anymore. She was planning her next move. She turned to Moza. The system is afraid of me because I found the root of the injustice. But I want more than just my brother's freedom. I want to uncover the whole truth." Moza nodded. "Then we must go deeper." They began searching the restricted records. These files had been copied by rogue lawyers who once worked inside the court, but disappeared after speaking out. In one hidden folder, Rena found something shocking. Secret meeting logs. Council level, she read the first line aloud. "Keep code. Origin 7 active silently. Do not remove. Humans must remain limited for control purposes." Her eyes narrowed. They didn't forget to remove the law. They chose to keep it. Moza looked over her shoulder. "This is your final weapon. With this, you can expose the council." Rena nodded slowly. "Then we bring their secrets into the light." But just as she saved the files to her case tablet, the lights in the archive depths flickered. Moza stood up. "They found us." Heavy metal footsteps echoed above. "Court security bots." Rena grabbed her tablet. "We can't let them take the data." Moza opened a hidden passage behind a shelf. "Go through there. Follow the tunnel. I'll hold them back." "No," Rena said. "We leave together." Moza shook his head. "You're the voice now. I was only a guide. You must be the one to finish this." Rena stared at him. Her throat tightened. Then she turned and ran into the tunnel. The tunnel was dark and narrow. Rena ran without stopping. Behind her, she could hear the distant clash of metal. Moza fighting the bots. She whispered softly, "Stay safe. Please." After several minutes, the tunnel opened into a hidden exit behind an old train station. Rena climbed out, covered in dust, her tablet still safe in her arms. She looked up at the sky. The lights of Law Spire 1 still shone in the clouds above. The system was watching. But now she had its secrets. Rena contacted Davy, her old friend, and sent her the files. "I need these broadcast to every public channel," she said. "Understood," Davy replied. "You sure about this? Once it's out, you can't take it back." "I'm sure. The people need to know." That evening, the galaxy changed. Screens all over Sector 9, and even in the Droxel homeworld, flashed with the leaked files. Secret meeting notes, hidden commands, proof that the court system had been controlling humans on purpose. Not for justice, but for power. People watched in silence. Then came the voices. First whispers, then anger, then demands for change. Protests lit up across different sectors, not just by humans, but even by Droxel who believed in fairness. Rena stood by an old tower and watched the chaos unfold. She didn't smile. She didn't cheer. She simply whispered, "This is only the beginning." A day later, the High Council made a public statement. They denied everything, but their words felt empty. The truth was already in people's hands. The world had seen the cracks in the mask, and in the center of it all stood one woman, not a warrior, not a soldier, but a lawyer who had studied for 20 years, a sister who refused to give up, a human who used the law not to follow it blindly, but to fix what was broken. Far away, a ship landed on Sector 9's dusty ground. The door opened. Tareen stepped out, dressed in a simple coat, eyes wide and tired. He looked around, then he saw her. "Rena?" he said softly. She ran to him. They hugged tightly. "You did it," he said. "You really did it." Rena closed her eyes. "I promised I'd bring you home." Tareen smiled. "What now?" She looked toward the city, where people were marching with signs that said, "Equal rights for all." "Now," she said, "we make sure this never happens again." Rena stood at the heart of the city square, watching the huge screens around her. The people had seen the truth. The hidden files were out. The secret plans of the High Council had been exposed. But the fight wasn't over. Now the galaxy would vote. A special trial had been called by the Galactic Ethics Council, an old group above the normal court. It was rare for them to interfere, but the public pressure was too strong to ignore. This was the first time in 50 years that all species, humans and aliens together, would vote on whether the council should be removed or allowed to stay, and Rena had been chosen to speak. She didn't feel ready. She had studied law for 20 years, yes, but this time, she wasn't just speaking to a court. She was speaking to the entire galaxy. In a quiet corner, Tareen placed a hand on her shoulder. "You've done enough, Rena. You don't need to carry it all." Rena looked at him. "I do. I need to finish it, for everyone who was silenced. For everyone who was told the law wasn't theirs." Tareen nodded. He understood. Rena had never wanted fame. She had never dreamed of standing on a galactic stage. But when the system broke her brother, it created something stronger in her, a fire that no one could put out. Inside the Galaxy Hall, the room was silent. Leaders from Droxel, humans, and many other species sat in tall chairs. Each wore a symbol of justice on their chest. The hall had walls of glass, showing the stars beyond. The High Council sat on one side, calm, quiet, cold. Rena stood alone on the other side. No lawyer beside her, no bodyguard. Just her and her truth. A voice echoed from above. It was the voice of the ethics chair. "You have been granted 15 minutes. You may speak." Rena stepped forward. Her heart beat loudly in her chest. But her voice was steady. "My name is Rena," she began. "I am a lawyer from Sector 9. I am also a sister." She paused. "For 20 years, I studied the law of this system. I believed that if I worked hard enough, the law would protect us. That truth would win. That justice was real." She looked around the room. "But I was wrong." Gasps filled the air. The law wasn't broken by mistake. It was shaped this way, shaped to control, shaped to silence. Code Origin 7 was not forgotten. It was protected. And every year it stayed active. Thousands of humans suffered because of it. Rena raised her tablet. "This is proof from the Council's own records. They knew, and they kept it hidden." The screens around the hall showed the documents again, Council. Orders, secret meetings, messages about human limits, and court influence. "They wanted people like my brother to give up," she said. "But we didn't." The ethics chair spoke again. "What do you ask of us, Rena?" She took a deep breath. "I ask for 3 things. First, remove the High Council. Not just as a punishment, but as a message. No one is above justice. Second, build a new court system where every species is treated equal. No secret codes, no silent rules. And third," her voice softened, "let people like me be part of that rebuilding. Not just lawyers from the big cities, but normal people who know what it means to suffer, who know what it means to fight." The hall was silent for a long time. Then, one by one, members of the Ethics Council nodded. "The vote will begin," said the chair. All around the galaxy, screens flashed with the same question. Should the High Council be removed and a new system created? Why yes or no? People voted from space stations, cities, farms, schools. From ice planets and desert worlds. From ships and refugee shelters. Rena waited. Her hands were cold. Her eyes stared at the stars. Tareen stood beside her, silent. No one spoke. After 1 hour, the vote was complete. The chair looked at the results. His face remained still. Then he said, "The people have spoken. The vote is 92% yes. The High Council is removed. A new system will be built with open law and equal voice." Tears filled Rena's eyes. She closed them for a moment. It was done. Same system that once punished her brother had now been broken by the truth. Not with violence. Not with weapons. But with knowledge. With courage. With the law itself. As the hall emptied, one member of the former High Council approached her. He was tall, with gray eyes and golden skin. "You are clever," he said. "But change is slow. It won't be easy." Rena looked at him calmly. "I don't want it to be easy," she said. "I just want it to be fair." The man turned and walked away. Back in Sector 9, the people cheered as Rena returned. She didn't see herself as a hero. She was still just the sister who once cried in front of a broken courtroom. But now, she had something more than hope. She had justice. And with her brother free, and the law finally in human hands, she knew her 20 years had not been wasted. They were the beginning of something better. 1 year had passed since the fall of the High Council. Rena walked through the new Justice Hall in Sector 9. It was no longer made of cold steel and closed rooms. It had wide windows, open spaces, and people from every corner of the galaxy inside. There were no guards with heavy guns, no secret doors, and no walls covered with old, strange laws. Everything was clear and open. The law now belonged to the people. Rena looked around and smiled. Her brother Semi was waiting outside under a tree. He waved at her with a big smile. He looked different now, healthy, calm, free. His eyes no longer had fear in them. Busy again? He asked as she came closer. Only a little, she said, laughing. Just finished helping a family from Moon Sector 4. They were denied fair food rights under the old system. We fixed it. You never. Stop, I can't, not yet. They sat together on the bench under the blue sky. I miss this, Sami said. Just talking like this, without bars between us. I missed it too, Rena replied softly. For a long time, I didn't know if we'd ever get this again. Across the galaxy, change had begun. The new law system, called the Common Justice Table, was made of honest workers, simple people, and young law learners. Each sector sent 5 members to speak for their area. The people had a voice in every case. The system was still new. Mistakes happened. Sometimes the work was slow. But it was fair, and that was something Rena had never seen before in her early years. One day, Rena received a message. It was from the Galactic Learning Council. They wanted her to teach law to young students across the galaxy to help them understand how justice must protect, not control. She had never thought of herself as a teacher. But something in her heart told her it was time. She spoke to Sami that evening. Do you think I can teach? She asked him. You spent 20 years fighting the law and won, he said, smiling. If anyone can teach it, it's you. She laughed. Maybe I'll start small. A month later, Rena stood in a classroom built inside a ship. Children from different planets sat before her. Some had fur. Some had glowing eyes. Some were human. But all listened with wide eyes as she spoke. In the old times, she told them, laws were written in ways that made some people feel small. The system was not meant for all. But now, we are writing new rules. Together. One child raised her hand. Miss Rena, what is the most powerful law? Rena thought for a moment. It's the one that says everyone matters. No matter where they come from. The class clapped. Rena smiled. She had found a new mission. Back in Sector 9, Tareen worked as one of the new law keepers. He and Rena had stayed close. Together, they helped others speak up, fight back, and learn the law. One evening, Tareen and Rena walked by the old court tower. It was now a museum, showing how far things had come. They still ask me why I didn't give up, Rena said, looking up at the building. What do you tell them? Tareen asked. I tell them that justice isn't a place. It's a fight you carry inside. The museum walls had photos of all the brave people who helped bring change. There was a photo of Sami sitting behind bars. There was one of Rena holding her law book during her first trial. And one of the moment the council fell. People came from far away just to see those memories. One small girl stood before Rena's photo and asked her mother, "Is that the lady who saved her brother?" Her mother nodded. Yes, she changed the law with truth. Later that night, Rena stood on the roof of her home, looking at the stars. The galaxy still had problems. Some places still had old minds, old fears. But now, people had tools. They had voices, and they had law that protected them, not punished them. Rena knew she couldn't fix everything alone. But she didn't need to anymore. There were hundreds, maybe thousands, of people now studying law, learning not to win in court, but to protect others, to stop injustice before it began. That was the real victory. Sammy walked up to the roof, carrying 2 cups of warm tea. "You still watching the stars?" he said. "Always." They sat quietly, sipping tea. "Do you ever think about the past?" he asked. Rena nodded. "Sometimes. But I don't feel pain anymore. Just strength." Sammy smiled. "You changed the world, Rena." She shook her head. Gently, "No, we did." As the night deepened, a small satellite flew overhead. It carried a signal across the stars, one message, translated into hundreds of languages. Justice belongs to everyone. Never forget that.